Hello and welcome to the Poke and Knuckles Show. Right? Evil Dead.
Yes, it is.
The fact battle. Go on, Poke.
Yes,
You're itching
one of my
for it. What's your
all-time
first fact?
favorite franchises, and the one thing is that Stephen King is actually the person we have to thank for Evil Dead 2 and 3, because he loved the first one so much that not only did he provide a quote for the movie's poster that helped majorly in selling the film, he even convinced Italian producer Dino De Laurentiis over dinner, who was producing King's Ria M at the time, that he should finance the film, but since it was a non-union production, De Laurentiis couldn't use his own production logo and company. This is why Rosebud was created, as a nod maybe to Citizen Kane, I don't know, but this company was created just so Stephen King could get Dino De Laurentiis to produce Evil Dead 2.
Alright, well, the famous corpse melting scene.
Yes.
So that scene comprised of oatmeals, snakes, marshmallow strings, and Madagascar cockroaches, thanks to the Michigan State University.
They provided them.
They provided them.
They want them back.
We don't know yet.
No,
Give them a call.
I'm only asking
But yeah.
because I also heard that the people making the film, they stayed in this cabin, they lived there, and it was very cold, it was a very harsh place to live, and I was thinking maybe they had to munch on the roaches.
Who knows?
In the evening. But my second fact is actually number 4, basically in the timeline, is actually about animals as well, because you know that in order to do the post-production and to get the sound effects, for instance, there was one day when Bruce Campbell had to just scream into a microphone for several hours. They cracked walnuts to make the head cracking sounds and the neck cracking sounds, but what did they do to replicate the sound effects of people being cut by the axe? They used dead chickens and a meat cleaver, and they just wedged into the dead chicken to also get, you know, the crushing bone and the goo flying everywhere.
Interesting. Speaking of chickens, the remake has hidden Easter eggs everywhere in the movie.
Everywhere.
Specifically, look at the card scene. I'm not going to tell you anymore. Go find the eggs. Second fact. Easter eggs.
After the end credits movie. My next fact, third fact is, you know who was an assistant editor on Evil Dead 1? It was Joel Coen, the brother of Ethan Coen, who made the film Fargo and far more amazing films in the future. He helped edit The Evil Dead because at the time he was the assistant to Edna Ruth Paul, who was tasked to cut the film. So Joel Coen got to the project. One of the famous Coen brothers. By the way, a Coen is also responsible, this is a very side-ish side fact, that Bill Murray signed on to do Garfield, because he just read on the rap sheet basically, oh, this film is being directed by one of the Coen brothers, I have to be in this film, I do not question every and any single thing about this project. He should have questioned the fact that this Coen was not the Coen. Whoopsie. Doesn't excuse him from making Garfield 2, then. Still.
Fact number 2.
4.
2.
Number 2.
The remake used 70,000 gallons of fake blood. Just the final scene alone used 50,000 gallons of fake blood. That this is way more than the whole franchise put together.
Than any other film, maybe.
It's just,
I found when I was looking for a different, when I was doing research for a different video, I found this must have been the bloodiest film of all time. Not Peter Jackson's Dead Alive, but 50,000 gallons of blood, and the IMDb even said 50,000 gallons per day. And I don't know how many days they spent shooting this, so this can go up tenfold, basically. But this blood raining scene is one of the most amazing scenes of all time. I love it so much. I hit you up. Do you know that in the original script, in the scene where they discover the tape and listen to the tape, the actors were actually supposed to smoke marijuana?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they tried this before doing the scene and got so messed up that everything they produced was completely unusable,
was
and they had
because-
to reshoot the scene.
Correct, and this was because I think they were filming in Tennessee, and some of the people made them smoke marijuana.
Yeah.
Speaking of blood, so they did not want an X-rated rating.
Yeah.
So they thought, okay, if we use different colors of blood, maybe we'll get around it. But they couldn't. They still got an X rating, so that's why it's unrated. They just did not want anything to do with the X rating.
Which is, by the way, a good thing that the Evil Dead 2, which we're talking about right now, has not been released by Lionsgate or any bigger company at the time, because they were under contractual obligation with the MPAA to only release MPAA-rated films. But the distributor of the time was not under this contract, so they could just release the film unrated, which had a bit lesser bans associated with it than having an X-rated movie, because people, when they read X rating, they thought this is porn.
Yeah.
This is actually why porn movies are usually triple X rated to cash in on this. But you want to hear my all-time favorite Evil Dead fact?
Go on, I thought that was one, but you're cheating, okay?
There was a woman who saw The Evil Dead when it was first released and was appalled at how violent this film was. She hated especially this vine rape scene and thought, what kind of horrible people could make such a disgusting movie? She then later married Rob Tappert, one of the producers, who actually made this scene that she was appalled of, and where she said, what kind of horrible person could this be that I am going to marry in the future? This is
excellent
so
news.
wholesome.
What a great fact about a woman marrying a producer about Evil Dead. Last fact. Okay, Evil Dead 2, when you see the chainsaw going completely mental and smoke is coming out. So Sam, what he did was, he put a tube behind the chainsaw and he was smoking cigarettes and blowing smoke. So it came out to the tube, came out, so it's like the chainsaw is blowing smoke, but it was actually cigarette smoke.
They even did the same thing in Army of Darkness as well.
Oh my god.
They even hit, sometimes they even hit a little boom mic in the chainsaw.
So they were smoking and making a company expense out of cigarettes. Yes. Lovely. On that note, thank you for watching.
We should go talk to our producers.
Yes,
having
excellent
drugs.
Oh god.
Tax efficiently supplied. Anyways, that's our show for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Please hit us up with your favorite Evil Dead facts in the comments below. And join us back next week when we're going to dive once again into the woods of the Evil Dead.
Take care.
Klaatu! Verata! Oh, God damn it! I hope this wouldn't have happened to me. Hello and welcome to the Pork and Knuckle Show, where we hopefully do not get joined by an army of the Evil Deadites. But just think this isn't the worst thing that could happen to me. I am already joined by Mr. Knuckles. But the good thing is, today we're going to talk everything about one of the greatest film franchises of all time, the awesome Evil Dead. I love this franchise to bits. And I think you've just seen it for the first time.
I have, and
Please tell me you love it again.
No.
You love it as well.
I don't know. Second one was alright. Second one was better than the first one. First one dragged on. The starting 45 minutes of like, what's going on, and then whole hell breaks loose. That is when it gets really good. Hell is completely broken loose. Those weird eyes. What's going on with the eyes and those like skull artifacts? Ugh. Yes, it was like. But the second one is cool. It gets straight into it, and this is where they go like from level 1 in the first one to like, okay, let's go completely ballistic. Yeah, I love it.
But
Second one I like the more actually.
You have to take into consideration the production background, because Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell were actually college friends, and they decided to make the movie together called Within the Woods, which was just a short film that then served as the blueprint for The Evil Dead. They made the short film just to get finances for the full movie, just like James Wan and Lee Whannell did with the Saw franchise.
Was it 32 minutes or something?
Something like this, and they made the film, and this was low budget. So of course, they had to have some filler material. I was always not so fond of the scenes where the people in the cabin interact with each other, because I think Bruce Campbell's awesomeness starts showing in the second one, and then goes full on mental in Army of Darkness. But what I love the most is Evil Dead, for the standards of 1980, is an ultra-violent masterpiece that had
very
amazing special effects. I mean, the white eyes, the white eye lenses, they hurt the actors. They had to be taken out every 15 minutes because the eyes got dry and hurt. They hurt.
Because contact lenses at that time were pretty much non-existent.
It was.
I
think Bruce Campbell once described it as like having an ashtray directly glued into your eye.
God. Was it glass?
I think it even was.
I think it was glass. At that time they had glass. But you see, Evil Dead 3, I think, was not good. I mean,
what?
The giant singing London Bridge is falling down. I'm like, oh, come on.
This is one of the best scenes in the entire film.
What is going on? Second one is a brilliant production. Really, so good. First one, fine, budgetary reasons. Second one, they really nailed it. This was nailed to perfection. I think it could be the best second sequel I have ever watched, even better than Home Alone. I mean, we're comparing Home Alone to Evil Dead now, but yeah, I really think second one is really good. I mean, I still don't get, I think it was in the first one, why somebody would go into the woods in your bathrobe. I mean, it's cold in the woods, even at night.
Yeah.
Why do that? There's like...
And there is woods in the woods, and you can get cuts and everything.
And it's just like, when the headless body's walking around, that was funny. It just looked like a headless chicken just walking around, going mental. It's just like, okay, what's going on here? But I liked it. I really liked it. The blood scene, blood was flooded through the walls, but it disappeared in the ground. It's like, what's going on here? Always a creepy cellar. Always a creepy cellar. You're gonna say it. If you're in Austria, creepy cellars is, an Austrian thing. Maybe he was inspired by Austria. We don't know.
But the thing is, I think you agree with Bruce Campbell at this point. I think he also said that the second one is his most favorite. I would more say that the second one is maybe my least favorite of all the three, because the first one was a full-on hardcore horror movie.
After the first
third
45
one,
minutes.
The third one was a phenomenal slapstick comedy fantasy film.
I thought that was the parody. I thought that was the piss take of the second one.
No, they had more like the fantasy element, and you see when you see Bruce Campbell acting, you see his comedic talent. And this is why I love the London Bridge scene so much, because the only thing that is more awesome than Bruce Campbell on screen is 10 Bruce Campbells on screen.
Evil Dead 1, 2 scary movies. Why do you need comedies?
The second one also has a lot of comedic elements, and I even have a personal connection with the second one, because Danny Hicks, the guy who plays the lumber, whose wife is getting dragged into the basement, who sadly passed away a few months ago, I met in person, and I talked to him, I did interviews with him, and he was a very, very nice guy. I still love Evil Dead 2. I love some factoids, like the possessed Henrietta was actually played by Ted Raimi, Sam Raimi's brother, and the problem was that the suit that he was wearing was so hot that he was really sweating so much that in one scene where he's hanging on the ceiling and leaning over, you can see like an ounce of sweat dripping out of the suit, and it was so disgusting for the people who worked with him, because it smelled very bad and they had to clean it every day, that I think they made him drink some of it at the end of the shoot.
It's a good thing the camera doesn't have a nose, right?
Yes, but okay. But still, I love the Evil Dead franchise. I
was
love
a good
every
franchise.
Overall,
Overall,
single one of
yeah.
these movies.
I think we can agree on
for
that.
what they're worth. For just like with The Nightmare on Elm Street, every movie has its own redeeming factor and quality for it. I love the direction. I love Bruce Campbell. These are some of the best horror fantasy comedy
First two
movies
were great.
ever made.
Third one really did not do justice on the first two.
The thing is,
It did not
which
do justice.
ending did you have for the third one?
Which ending did I
Because
have
there are
for the
two very famous endings. The supermarket ending and the future ending. Supermarket ending.
Supermarket ending. So I just...
Yeah, personally,
I like the second ending more.
My own opinion is that the other ending that they have, where he drank too much of this potion and then ends up basically in Mad Max territory,
this is it. It's
much funnier and much cooler closing
on the
of
second one, I
series.
found, what is this ending? A mixture of Mad Max, Lord of the Rings, Muhammad Ali the movie, and it's just like it's completely gone Peter Tong, like boxing, shooting, guns. It was mental.
You know what? Speaking of
Completely
sequels
mental.
and reboots and all of this, it was often discussed what the Evil Dead 2 actually is, because it's kind of a sequel, but it's also a reboot, because it sets up scenes from the first one, but does them quite differently. Actually, Bruce Campbell explained why that was.
Well, they couldn't use this.
They couldn't use the scenes from the first one because they sold the rights, so they had to reshoot it in order to recap it, but it's still supposed to be not a reboot, but a sequel, which kind of makes me ask the question, if this happens to you at a cabin in the woods, why would you ever go there again?
And on that note, young sir,
Yes,
I
if
think
that
we conclude.
what happened in the last 8 minutes happened to you, why would you ever go back to this channel again? Hopefully you do. Next week when we see you guys again in the next episode of the Pork and Knuckle Show, thank you for watching and good night.
Take care. Hello and welcome to the Pork and Knuckles Show. Right, straight into it. Evil Dead remake, the Evil Dead 1. We're gonna compare 5 categories here.
Yes, which ones are they?
Special effects, characters, storyline, the intro, and the kills. Go for it. Special effects.
Which one? Special effects. This is hard to decide because every time you look at special effects, you have to take into consideration the time the
Always
films
the time.
were made. And the thing is, with basically being a college project, the Evil Dead 1 was such an amazing feat, such a superb accomplishment, a groundbreaking masterpiece.
Really, it was.
But then comes along one of the best remakes of all time, and the Evil Dead remake has so phenomenally awesome special effects.
This is where I have to give credit to them. Yeah.
They are so gory, so intense, so much more than you would have normally expected from an R-rated, basically Hollywood-produced film, but still, I am a guy, I love the indie flicks, I love the independently made accomplishments, so I'm going, even though this is brilliant, going to give the point to the old one, because I just love, and I remember, I gotta say, you've seen The Evil Dead now for the first time,
Yes.
right? I have seen it on an old censored German VHS tape. At the time, the film was still banned for its glorification of violence. Now it's rated 16 plus. And I've seen the film, and I was scared as a 12-year-old when I saw the film. I was
This
disgusted.
explains a lot about how your
I
brain
was
works.
disgusted at the end when the Deadite melted. So this was my first foray into this hardcore gore thing. I loved it.
So where's
and
your
I love
point
it now.
going? The old one.
The old one, definitely.
The old one. Alright. My point will go to the new one. I tell you why. Yes, old one is groundbreaking. However, during this time, there's been CGI explosions. Special effects went mental. And the way they did this, it wasn't basically so obvious that it was CGI.
Yeah.
And this was the masterpiece. The actual art behind this was Yes, they had a lot of green rooms, green screens, but they did it in such a subtle manner. It really flowed with the movie. Really, it was superb. I know this is groundbreaking, but this in itself is also groundbreaking because they subtly involved and very, I think creatively is the right word, creatively really blended the makeup, the costume, and the special effects. For me, the point goes to the new one.
And they even tried, which is an
cool.
enormous feat for a new film, to do as much as possible with practical effects. And this is an amazing thing.
I agree. Second, characters, man. Characters.
This is going to be tough because I hate all the characters. Now, I gotta say, one drawback for me, we're going to get to this in a minute, is the fact I don't believe this drug rehab, cold turkey going thing in the woods, because I'll point that out in the storyline. But I think there you just have bland characters in the old film, because many of the characters are not very interesting. Even Bruce Campbell, and I love Bruce Campbell, is not as awesome in this film as he has gone on to be in the second Evil Dead and in Army of Darkness. So it's kind of tough to decide, because it's generic characters on both ends, but I still kind of felt more interested in the characters of the new one. Okay, so I'm giving the point to the new one.
For me, it's the old ones, actually, because the concept of the movie is not about characters. They're there, but the main person, this is the point, the main person is much I think presented is the right way.
Yeah.
In the old one. I'm sorry, but the new one is just coming up with this nonsense of 21st century. With all due respect, it's a horror movie. We know what we're going to expect. It's Evil Dead. Yeah. And the new one just plays onto this brother-sister relationship. Man, I don't care about emotional drama in there. This is not an emotional drama. Gore, blood, violence. First one. For me, the first one, that's it.
But I have to counter-argue here with the point that carnage, and especially the scary aspect of a horror film, can only work if you somehow relate to the characters. Because if you don't care about the characters, you don't care about what happens to them. You only care about the gore or about anything.
You know what's going to happen to them.
So,
storyline.
The storyline. And I'm going to say flat out, this goes to the old one.
Yes.
Because the storyline in the old one is just a bunch of guys and gals going to a cabin in the woods to get drunk and to do shit. So this is something that we could do as friends even now. But I do not believe this drug rehab story. Because the one thing that really blew me off with this movie was the fact, okay, so you're going into rehab in a cabin in the woods. Why bring drugs? Just so you can dump them in the well? This is the stupidest thing that you could do. Flush them at home and then go there without any of the stuff, because then why even have this option of relapsing?
There was no point of having... This is the thing. Storyline has to have a contribution.
Yeah.
That had zero contribution. You could edit that out of the movie and the movie would still be equally good. There was just 0 point in it. No point at all. At all. You know what's going to happen here.
It took a bit too long.
It is. The start was slow, but yeah. So my point also goes to the old ones.
Yes,
Which
definitely.
brings us straight starting intros.
To the intros. We already said that the first one takes very long before it starts, and I think
45 minutes.
But the fact is, when I just take the first thing that you see when you start the old one, it's just this camera pan through the swamp, and that. I love this point of view perspective that Sam Raimi loves
kind of
to do
snake thing, like
in every move. Like you see the evil lurking. This was phenomenal. Then it cuts into the car, and then it's like
no one cares.
No one gives.
I don't care about your conversation in the car.
Yeah. The funniest part is that they almost ran over Rob Tappert, which was the producer, and the fact that Bruce Campbell makes such a grim face after they talk about moonshine was there was a deleted scene where he drank it, and this was his genuine reaction to this. But then I see the opening to the new one, which was... You gotta imagine, I was a presenter at the Fright Nights Festival in Austria. I think in 2014 I did the on-screen introductions to these films, and we had the Austrian premiere of the Evil Dead remake in our theater. So I was standing in front
But what did you think of
I was standing in front of 400 people on stage, and we had the screen of the theater with the curtain closed, and then I used the words "klatu verata nektu" to make the curtains go, and the film started. This kinda had me pumped already, and then, I mean, the scene is a bit generic, but I think it jumps straight into this.
There's no messing around.
Into this. She is tied up in the background, even though the fire looks a bit fake. This was such a great thing, and this guy killing his own daughter, because remakes, apart from The Hills Have Eyes, which I love, and Maniac, which is also great, are doomed often. But then I saw this scene and I was like, holy damn, this could be amazing. And it was. I love this intro more.
For me, I think I agree with you.
New one.
New
Definitely.
one for sure. New one went straight in because you know what you're expecting, right? It's come from such a big franchise. The remake, you already know. You don't need to spend 45 minutes. Oh, what's the petrol in the tank like? I don't care. I don't care. Do you have a sandwich? Cheese and egg? I don't care. I don't care about all of this arbitrary talk. We're here for some evil. That's it. I just want to see it.
You know,
intro, old one.
Yeah.
No, new one for sure.
Intro for both of us. For the storyline, I even have to add, you know, even with the old one, it was kind of a contrivance that the car breaks down, that the bridge breaks down. But in the new generation, with the cell phones, it's much more...
It's relevant.
It's always... Relevant. Oh, and the phone also doesn't work. Then why do you have these things? No, the kills.
The kills. Boom.
First one, old one had amazing special effects, which I so like, but then I see the scene where she cuts open her tongue with this Stanley knife. That was a pain to watch in the theater, and it's even more a pain to watch in the extended cut. Then you have the scene where she uses this electric knife to cut off
the arm.
Her arm.
Wow.
And I was in the theater, and I was yelling cut at the screen, because it was like, okay, this is an R-rated film. This scene is going to cut now. Cut now. It didn't cut! This was so gory. And then, of course, one of the most amazing kills in horror film history, the chainsaw to the head at the end of the film. And even that was 10 times longer than I expected it to be. Effects, new one, done.
For me, old one.
Really?
Kills,
old one.
Kills, old one.
Really?
For sure. Like, it was brilliant. You got to look at it at the time. And at that time, those kills were like, they were shocking.
Yeah.
That's it. The term shock, because here, there have been so many horror movies already made. There's a lot of inspiration from others. This was pure genius.
Yeah.
And just the authenticity is a word to use of the kills was like, okay, kept surprising us. One character after the other. And it was just like, wow, they are really getting creative with this. And this was cool. How many did they have? 4 or 5 kills in it. The characters.
There weren't so many character kills.
There weren't so many character kills, but they were brilliant. And for me, old. For you, new.
Wow. But I take the same argument that you do, but there have been so many horror films, but rarely has a Hollywood-produced film been this shocking. And it was shocking for a Hollywood film because it was so unexpected. It was way more unexpected than this, because this film, when I saw it, was banned. First, I even saw the censored version. I mean, it was banned in Germany, it was a video nasty in England, and so on. But yeah, what's the tally?
Tally is, for you, 3 new, 2 old. For me, the opposite. 3 old, 2 new.
I expected this. And even though I still have to say I adore this film, I love this film, but I was afraid that this is going to happen. This is no disrespect to the old one. I love both films, but apparently this one is just slightly better.
Right, and on that bombshell,
Yes.
see you next week.
See you next week. Drop us in the comments which one is your personal favorite, and join us back next week when we talk more about Evil Dead.
Take care.
Hello and welcome to the Sorry, I just wanted to recreate what it felt like for me to watch the opening of The Cabin in the Woods. Seriously, this guy made a jump scare out of this film's title card, and the best thing is, it was practically the only jump scare in this film. Hello and welcome to the Pork and Knuckle Show, and today, on Evil Dead Month, we are talking about one of my personal all-time favorite horror movie homage movies of all time, especially since Cabin in the Woods is so highly based upon the Evil Dead franchise. We're talking about this in Evil Dead Month. What did you think about it?
I think this is the most absurd movie made.
Yes.
I think it does not do any justice at all to Evil Dead. I think this is a horrendous movie.
What?
Absolutely terrible. What was the point of this? So they have a team building monsters. Let's say Monster Inc. Fine, there's Monster Inc. watching these carefully selected group of people orchestrated to go into this cabin, and then if one of them doesn't die, the underground gods will come up, demons, whatever, and then make everything go mental. Yeah, come on. What are we here? What is this? This is not a human experiment. This is not a human centipede or something. Come on, guys. It's meant to be gory. It's meant to be scary. Nothing in there was scary. Absolutely nothing. There was no effort made. I mean, they killed one guy off with him going on a motorbike trying to cross a bridge and basically getting electrocuted. It's like, come on. Where's the scariness in this? Absolutely nothing.
You forget the merman blowing the blood out of his breathing
You said the
hole.
word merman. Says
the
everything that has to be
unicorn
said.
stabbing someone.
Great, unicorn, merman.
I really don't want to spoil too much of the movie, but I have to give you some sort of background. I mean, the movie was made by Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon, the same Joss Whedon who made the first Marvel Avenger movie. And the two guys wrote the script for this film in just 3 days because
it shows. It really does.
They
show.
came off failed projects, locked themselves in a hotel room, and came up with this. And the reason why I said that I love this movie to bits is the fact that it is not a straight-up knockoff of The Evil Dead. It just pays homage to so many other horror films. If you look closely, for instance, in the scene when they are in this cube elevator scene, you have the Cenobite from Hellraiser coming with a sphere-shaped puzzle box, and could this be another reference to Phantasm? You have so many references in so little time, and you can pickpocket certain elements from every single scene. And what I love the most is that the creators of the film once said they wanted to put you into the position of asking yourself, did I go into the wrong theater for this film? Because what is playing is not what I expected. You expect the film called Cabin in the Woods to start off with some sort of generic in the woods killing scene, and then have like Evil Dead-esque people going into the woods, and then it starts in an office building, what the hell, making you crap your pants during the title card. But I loved this. I loved Richard Jenkins in the role as one of the operators. I just loved the fact that this film delivered such a complete opposite experience of what I expected. It has Chris Hemsworth, who by the way filmed this film before he appeared in Thor, but it was delayed and released after it, and there are so many little things and references.
Movie that tries to use a caravan or an RV into the movie is just one no. That also taking bets on human lives, I didn't quite like that aspect. The only thing good about this movie is the monsters turning on the company. That was funny, and it came out elevators one after the other, bang bang bang. It's just like, okay, but no, this movie, watch it and see what
There
you
are,
think.
there
I
are
don't know.
so many more connections.
Watch it in the
By the way,
background.
do you know that the director, and I'm not going to spoil what this position is, that is played by Sigourney Weaver in the film, the first person approached for this role was Bruce Campbell. But he was unavailable because he had other obligations, which would have been great. A part of the makeup crew of this film was Heather Langenkamp, who played Nancy, the main girl in A Nightmare on Elm Street, the first movie.
So they got an actress to be on the makeup crew.
Yeah, because her husband was an special effects artist
But
on the film.
she wasn't.
And
It's a first experiment.
after you, you had Laura Gemser designing costumes, which is basically interesting for the fact that she was mainly a porn erotica actress, and then was cast in a role where she would design costumes, you know, the thing that she never wore in her own films. But also, when you see the scenes where they're watching, you know, the rituals that are going on, all the screens were not green screens because they did not have the money to do green screens. This was a low-budget production. So for every shot that they made, this had to be manually synchronized. And to go back into the details that they have taken, every single one of, you know, these failed attempts at rituals, every single one comes from a different film. You have the Kyoto ritual, which is obviously from The Ring. The one in Buenos Aires is from King Kong. Stockholm is from John Carpenter's The Thing. You have references to Dracula, to every single great horror movie. You even have, in this cube shape, you have a giant cat as one of the killers. This film has so much hidden meaning and purpose. I love this one. This is one of my all-time favorite films from the 2000 era. Please give it a watch. Write us in the comments if you agree with me or whether you are wrong.
Well, I'll tell you before we finish. Apparently, you have to do a full background investigation before watching this movie, because
otherwise you're gonna get surprised. This is a film made by nerds for nerds. If you consider yourself a horror movie buff, you will enjoy this. If you're this guy, maybe not. See you guys again next week for the next episode of the Pork and Knuckle Show. I hope you liked this. Drop us your opinion of The Cabin in the Woods in the comment section below. We'd love to read it.
Take care.
Hello and welcome to the Pork and Knuckle Show, and we are still in Evil Dead month, and today we're going to talk about one of the most famous and infamous Evil Dead knockoffs, rip-offs, and homages. It's called Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder from Hell, or as the alternate title suggests, The Japanese Evil Dead. And before we get into discussion about the film, I have to say that this film was actually made in 1995, edited in 2005, completed in 2009, then released on DVD-R in 2012, and the first international release was in the UK in 2017, 1 year earlier as this German media book release that I have standing here. This is the only film that Shinichi Fukazawa ever made. He only has one other acting credit in 2018, but after this film, he never wrote, directed, or did anything else in the film business, which I find very sad.
This movie is better than Evil Dead 1.
Oh wow, I did not expect you to
straight
say
up
that.
saying this. Like, this movie is a scary movie. Like, really. I was, even at this tender age of below 31, I was scared watching this. It was slightly, I mean, the ghost lady's face when she comes out of the body is scary. Parts flying around everywhere. I mean, then you have the head with the arms going around. That reminded me of Toy Story. I don't know why. But the psychic, the creepy house. And it was so brilliantly made. I think budget-wise, didn't cost much. One scene, one area. This was a brilliant movie. I loved it. It's actually slightly scary, but relaxing at the same time, because you're there and you know this is never gonna happen. Well, you hope this is never gonna happen. But the ending really did it for me when he came down with the dumbbells and the barbells. And he used the barbell to... No. He used a bow and arrow, and the arrow was the barbell. This was mental. I'm like, I don't know how this physics works in this house. But yeah, it was such a brilliant movie. Really. It was short.
Yeah,
and it was
very
brilliant.
short.
This is why there was no mumbo jumbo. They went straight into it, no messing around, loads of twists, and it just went on and on. It was brilliant.
This is actually something that I like about low-budget films, because they are usually very short because they don't have the money to film filler.
That's it.
So this movie comes faster to the action than the old Evil Dead.
Sure.
I love how the guy actually kind of sort of looks like Bruce Campbell to an extent.
They tried.
And it is very clear that this was intended to be an Evil Dead knockoff.
Sure.
Some of the scenes were actually copied one by one, but in such an amazing stylized way
brilliant.
that you can just see this film was not made by someone who just wanted to cash in on the Evil Dead, but by someone who loved the Evil Dead and who wanted to contribute his own version to this whole situation. And it is just an entertaining...
Was it a commercial success?
Awesome film. No.
Really? This should be really a commercial success. This is a great movie. I cannot stress how good this movie is.
It is very underground. I mean, you have to say that there you have a cover artwork by renowned artist Graham Humphreys, who works for Arrow Video and other companies. You have a Shintaro Kago cover artwork drawn for this film that you can see here on the booklet cover. This film has some amazing artwork associated with it, but only after it surfaced. This film was released 20 years after it was
this
made.
pays testament to the artwork and the effects within the movie. It was really good. At that time, to like make your face go blue and explode and blood going everywhere, and the blood was not overdone as well. It was very subtly crafted. This is a superb movie.
Yeah.
I am going to give a 5-star rating, a timeless classic indeed.
Yes, I'm going to agree with this. I'm so glad that you say this, because usually you're not on my side when it comes to the trash movies, and this is an amateur production, but one that really pays to watch. Do this. Get yourself a legitimate copy of this film. Support the guy who made this. He deserves it. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Pork and Knuckle Show. Please join us back when we meet again to talk about more Evil Dead madness.
Take care.